representatives. First, we're going to start with the city doing a presentation. We have our city clerk's office that's going to do a little bit of voter outreach for next year's election. And then we'll have a code enforcement module, and then we'll talk about emergency preparedness. And then the second half of the meeting tonight will lead into the sheriff's department discussion and about some of the topics that our area leaders had selected. And also we'll have a computer crimes lieutenant here doing a presentation on cybercrime. And so this is our third year doing Neighborhood Watch, and so I'm sure a lot of you have been here, and so we try to keep it different so that it's something that you'll come back to every year. And currently we don't have any of our council members here or any of our commissioners, and so we're going to get started. I want to introduce Marilyn and Peggy. They are from our city clerk's office.
I'm actually here as a reminder for everyone. As you can see on your desk, you all have registration forms along with this brochure that the city clerk's office provided. And in this brochure, you'll find all of kind of the FAQs about,
They can't hear the back, sorry.
Okay, sorry. In this brochure, it actually has a couple of facts that you guys might be interested in knowing for our upcoming election in March 3rd, 2015. With that said, reasons why you should update your registration form. For example, some of you guys probably registered 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even longer. If so, your signatures might be outdated. So part of the reason why we're here is to make sure that all of your signatures are updated so that all of your votes count during the election season. Another reason is sometimes we just get too busy, we have no time to vote in person, or we don't want to deal with all the lines that we have to go through. Vote by mail is an option, and in this registration form you can actually check the area that says vote by mail. You can do it permanently, or you can do it temporarily, meaning that you can update it every year and have them, notify you if you want it during vote by mail or if you want to do in-person voting. And one more thing, if you've recently moved to the city, a lot of times a lot of people don't realize that they have to update their registration form when they move to the city. You have to, if you want to vote for the council in Temple City, you have to be registered in the city in order to vote during our general municipal election. So we're going to be here until the end of the night. If you guys have any questions, come visit us over there. We'll help you fill out your registration forms if you guys need any assistance. We're also here to collect them so that you don't have to go mail them yourself. You can just give it to us and we'll mail it for you. Okay? Any questions? No?
Yeah, so if you fill them out, you can turn them in tonight. We'll be here. They won't be here for the entire meeting, but you can turn it to any of the city staff and we'll make sure that registration form gets turned into our city clerk's office. And so we're going to start our presentation. Our first presentation is going to be about community preservation, and one of our community preservation officers, Jillian, will do the presentation.
Hi guys, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good? Okay, thanks for coming out. We're going to get started. I'm the community preservation officer for the city of Temple City. I'm just one of them. We have 5 more, 6 including me. So let's get started. Before we go into the 2014 Neighborhood Watch presentation, we're going to just recap on what we covered in the last 2 years. So in 2012, we transitioned from code enforcement to community preservation. And the reason for that is we wanted a program that was more customer service driven. We implemented PHASE, which stands for Focus Area Systematic Enforcement. And that involves courtesy notices that are door hangers that are placed on residents' doors, notifying them of violations that they didn't know were on their property. Last year, in 2013, we introduced CPTED. CPTED stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And we did go through the 3 methods of CPTED. We went through natural surveillance, which basically an example of this would be keeping the hedges below your window so that you can look outside without having to take special measures such as going outside and putting yourself at risk. The second was territorial reinforcement. This is an example of decorative fencing that defines your property lines without creating any hiding places, and maintenance, which is one of the most important methods of CPTED, and how these 3 methods can help deter crime and criminal behavior. So let's get right into 2014, into the Neighborhood Watch. So in 1982, there was an article that came out in the Atlantic Monthly called Broken Windows. Has anyone heard of the broken windows theory? A couple people have. A couple people are familiar with this theory. So it was written in 1982 by James Wilson and George Kelly, and it proposed an idea which outlined the nature of how crime spreads in our communities. This theory was successfully used in New York City in the 1990s in an effort to stop crime. So to give you an idea of what the broken windows theory is, consider an abandoned building. This building just sits there, deteriorating. Over time, the paint starts to peel, weeds start to grow. No one cares, it's unmaintained. Pretty soon, someone comes by, a young kid, picks up a rock, breaks a window. The window remains broken, unrepaired. One window leads to two, two windows leads to three. Eventually, the building gets broken into. You have squatters taking up residence inside this building, lighting fires to stay warm. Pretty soon, people are doing drugs inside this abandoned building. So what this one abandoned building has done is it's created fear. It's a snowball effect. So if you fix those small things, you deter the big things. And that's what community preservation does. We fix those small things, such as the broken windows, the overgrown vegetation, peeling, chipping paint, abandoned vehicles, unsecured and abandoned properties. We have a program for vacant properties that holds owners responsible. And what this program does is it prevents blight, ensures proper maintenance, and protects the public from health and safety issues. So this is where you can help by notifying the city. Because the city is 3.85 square miles. That's over 12,000 residential dwellings. And that's not including commercial properties. So with 6 community preservation officers, it's a little difficult to tackle all of these residential, not including commercial properties, at once. So residents notifying city staff, it helps us fix those small things. So city streets and city properties won't look like this, where you're driving down the street and you see walls just filled with graffiti. Or abandoned houses that have caught fire, that are unmaintained and unsecured. Or when you're driving down an alley and you see a car that's abandoned, just riddled with graffiti. Does anyone know where this lot is? A few people do. It's behind the 99-cent store. This is the old Alpha Beta site. Some of you are familiar with it, but it's unsecure. Did anyone know there's a basement underneath that lot? That basement spreads out through the entire vacant lot, and that gate underneath was unsecured and open. This is actually one of my cases that we got a complaint on, and when we went there, there was graffiti underneath on the walls. We didn't go down there for our own safety, but you don't know what was down there or who could have been down there. So this is a perfect idea of the broken windows theory in action. You have one couch that's just been abandoned, thrown in this alley that's forgotten. No one picks it up, no one cares. A few weeks go by, 2 couches, a Christmas tree, other junk, trash, and debris. So as you see, it's just a perfect example of how this one couch, your broken window, can lead to other things. And it's an open invitation for other people to dump trash because they see one broken window and someone not caring. And this is what it leads to. So you want to fix those small things. Because preventing crime, it involves everyone. It involves city staff, such as myself, the sheriff's department, but it most importantly involves Temple City residents such as yourself. Because we want those higher property values. We want that quality of life. We want a desired area in which to live and raise our children. Safer communities, safe schools, and clean streets. So you fix those small things to deter the big things. So areas like this that are forgotten are now secure and safe. Or houses like this that have fire damage. There's actually a hole in the roof. There was many problems with this house. You see the fire damage in the rear yard. It was left unsecured. Anybody could walk by. Now look like this. Safe, clean streets. So if you'd like to notify the city, if you aren't aware of how to do so, phone, email, in person, walk in, talk to us, and let us know what your concerns are if you have any, or any questions that you may have. Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Glenn. Oh, you got a question?
Yes.
Actually, yeah, something.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a list of phone numbers that tells you where to call?
Who are you trying to call?
Well, you.
Me? Yeah, if you call the main city hall number and you ask for any community preservation officer,
You don't have a
What's your
list.
personal number?
Do you, who receives the Connect magazine, or who has a copy of the Connect magazine? On the back cover of the Connect magazine are all the city numbers.
Okay, all right.
And so that is one spot that we do have all the numbers as well. Yes.
Well, I've had experience with somebody just coming and dropping a couch off in the alley behind my office. But I called the city and they said, well, we can't do anything about it.
where's your office at?
It's on Temple City Boulevard, first block south of Las Vegas.
So what's the problem so everybody knows?
They dropped a couch just in the alley right by the trash can, by the dumpster. And I mean, I think I just talked to the operator at City Hall. But,
Well, we'll take care of it tonight for you. We'll
It's
make
not,
sure-
it's not there now.
Oh, okay.
Athens should be there.
This was several months ago.
Did it sit there for a while though? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was, something it disappeared eventually, but,
Well, I know that city staff and ourselves, we'll go out there and sweep the alleys and we'll pick up, if someone said we can't do nothing, maybe they were referring to because it already had been dumped. So it's in the past, so we don't know who that couch belongs to. So perhaps maybe
well,
that's
this,
what they were referring to.
this, in this case, I mean, it wasn't any, there was no, like I say, somebody just came and they decided, I'm just gonna get rid of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that occurs,
Quite
not that often, but it does occur. And we try and prohibit that.
But we
Yes.
can do something about it, definitely.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
about trash on the street, like, cause I noticed lately, like right around what Temple City High School on this other side of the street, it usually is very clean. But then I see trash like from In-N-Out Burgers, drinks on the street, it's like so messy. Do people clean up those?
Well, the property owner that's adjacent to
Not
the
the property,
street,
owner,
no.
there's no property on this side, it's right next to the fence.
Well, then it'd be the
where
city's
sidewalk.
responsibility to kind of clean and maintain. We don't necessarily have someone going cleaning up all the sidewalks. And so that's where the property owners adjacent to that sidewalk are responsible for maintaining that.
Okay, what about those people like walk their dog and they don't clean up after?
If we see it, we can enforce it. If you don't know who it is, it's something that we have to observe in process of having it completed, then we can issue a cite. So-
Because we noticed that
Yes, ma'am.
What if you have a next door neighbor, it's been cleaned up, but I mean, they have a backyard, you can't, front yard looks okay. They have weeds that are up here, they throw stuff in the back, they have like a washing machine sitting there, and out in the backyard, it looks like something that, you'd find in Texas in a trailer.
We definitely can do something about that. That would be junk trash debris just left.
Uh-huh.
If you'd like at the end, I can take down your information
Well, I
and the
was just
address.
worried they cleaned it up.
Okay.
They got a new gardener, but
Okay.
I wasn't
But yes.
during Fourth of July, the whole place was
Yes.
up in smoke.
And that's where we need your help. We need your help because we don't see that from the public view. We don't see that from the street. And so that's where your set of eyes and ears
Well, I
help
called
us
the
out.
fire department, but I told them where it was, but they seemed to look in front and they skipped the back, so I don't know why.
Yes, ma'am.
What's gonna happen with the old funeral home? That is certainly an eyesore.
Yeah, that they're working on it. That's not so much on topic as far as what we're doing tonight. If you have questions, you can call City Hall and speak to someone in our community development department as far as what the plan are. Eventually, it's gonna be demolished, but I don't know exactly what's planned for that corner.
Well, it seems to be going like this, progressively worse it's getting, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we'll maintain it as much as we can, but it's gonna be demolished eventually. But as far as what's planned for that corner, I can't tell you.
Okay, you guys ready to keep going?
Yes.
All right, so,
Folks, just so you know, we have a format we're trying to follow. If you have questions we don't get to, you're going to be able to email me, and then I'll send it off to the city as well, streamline it, and that way I'll follow up on the things, make sure they get taken care of. But we do want to stick to the format for the most part. And then also, the packets I gave you for the Sheriff's Department, the back, there's a blank piece of paper with lines. So if you've got a question or a problem that we don't get to, write it down, tear this off, and hand it to me. We'll take care of it for you. All right?
okay, did everybody receive one of the packets that has the Community Emergency Response Team on the front cover? If you haven't, go ahead and raise your hand.
If you don't have
Right
it.
behind you. If you don't have one, keep your hand up, please, and we'll make sure you guys get one. All right, so what we're going to cover tonight is emergency preparedness. The city can only do so much. The sheriff's department can only do so much if there's a regional disaster or a large local disaster, because our resources are limited. And so what we rely on is you as a community being prepared. If you're able to take care of yourself and be prepared, you're not going to wait for the emergency responders to come and assist you. It may be something that, because you're prepared, you might be able to take care of yourself. What is emergency preparedness? This is a technical definition. It's ensuring that an organization or a person has complied with preventative measures to obtain the effects of a disaster situation, or to contain the effects. Again, everybody needs to be prepared. The city, we do our part, and we're constantly refining our preparedness efforts. And some of the ways that we've done that are, we have a new emergency operations center at City Hall. That is basically a command post that we can operate with the sheriff's department and the fire department and be able to manage with all resources in one room for a disaster that occurs in the community. We have a backup generator. Who here with the windstorm didn't have a generator and you were days without power? Our generator during the windstorm did go out. We had a backup generator, but it wasn't able to sustain the load that we had on it, and so we had a redundant generator. So we have a new generator that will allow us to continue to operate in City Hall. We have a state and federal government approved emergency operations plan. The emergency operations plan is basically the city's playbook. This is how we're going to respond with what resources to different types of disasters. We have a state-approved multi-hazard mitigation plan. And again, that's telling us, we identify what the hazards are in the community, whether it's we're going to be susceptible to earthquake damage, possible flood damage, firestorm, wildfires, tsunamis, whatever the situation is. We have ways that we look to mitigate and lessen the impact of those. We are an American Red Cross approved emergency shelter at Live Oak Park, and we have ongoing training for management and frontline staff. This is just kind of a funny video to get you guys thinking about emergency preparedness.
All right, I know this isn't anything to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'm trying to get the generator going without any gas.
Well, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies? I can forget to do a list for us. Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
So who here is prepared? And again, what we hope that you get from tonight is making that effort and seeing what you can do to help prepare yourself and your family. In Southern California, our biggest threat, our biggest disaster is going to be because of an earthquake. On the San Andreas Fault, they usually have an earthquake every 150 years. We're about 300 years overdue on an earthquake on the southern section of the fault. So we don't say if it's going to happen, we say when it's going to happen. And we want everybody prepared for that. In your handouts, there's a lot of information that I'm just going to kind of skim through, and there's a lot more information in those packets. And so up here is the 7 steps to earthquake safety, and it goes in specific details in your handouts. What you can do to prepare for a disaster, we're going to go over how to develop a disaster plan, disaster supply kits, hazard mitigation for you and your home and your workplace, and some training opportunities for the community. When you develop a disaster plan, you want to establish where your family will meet. Do you have an escape plan? How are you going to get out of your house? Who here has an out-of-state contact? Not too many. The out-of-state contact is someone that all the family members can reach out of state. Because our phone lines are down, an out-of-state contact, their phone lines are still working. So if someone's able to get through and call Aunt Sally and say, can you let mom and dad know I'm okay? I'm over at the mall, but we're okay now. Everybody's going to call Aunt Sally and she can relay the message to everybody. What route and alternate routes will you use to evacuate your neighborhood? The windstorm was a perfect example. Where you normally drive down Primrose Avenue or Temple City Boulevard has a large tree. It may have a broken water main and a sinkhole, and so you've got to develop those evacuation routes and have backups to the backups. Do you have transportation? If you don't, well, what are you going to do? If your car is in your driveway and it's rendered unusable because a large telephone pole and power lines fell on it, if that was your only means of transportation, you have to have some backup and alternate means. And having a plan by itself is great, but if you don't use the plan and practice it, you're not going to really retain and be able to effectively do it when you need to do it in the event of a disaster. This is a sample escape plan. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It identifies the points of exit. In this case, they identified a primary exit, an alternate exit, and they also identified a family meeting place. Disaster supply kits, we want to remember the rules of 3. You want to have 3 kits, one for home, one for your car, and one for work. You want to have 3 days of supplies per person, and you want to have 3 categories of items in your supply kit. You want to have water, food, and utility items. Yes, sir?
Should that be stored in the house or outside the house?
The answer is yes. It just all depends. If you're going to store an item inside the house and it's a large barrel or a large bin, you want to be able to make sure that you're able to carry it out if you need to. Or if it's in a room in your house and the earthquake happens and it collapses in that area, how effective is that kit going to be to you being trapped inside the house? And so you're going to have to assess your own properties to see what's best. Some people may put it in the garage. Some people may buy a tough shed and put it on its own outside so that a 10 by 10 tough shed, if it collapses, it's not that heavy to move the lumber or debris off of it and get to your kit. And so it just depends on what your physical abilities are or limitations are and how your property is situated. Who here can tell me how much water each person needs per day?
Gallon.
1 gallon per person per day. Thank you, sir. Some of the items that you want to have in your kit, again, we said food and water. You want to have items that are non-perishable, easy to make, something that doesn't take a lot of heat or energy. You may not have a fire or a stove to cook your food, so you want to have something that is readily accessible. They do make MREs, or meals ready to eat. They're not the greatest tasting, but they're going to get you the nutrition and supplements that you need to be able to push through until you can recover. You want to keep in mind you want to have food for infants, elderly, and other special needs, and have some of those comfort foods. Maybe junk food for some, and maybe that brownie, whatever's going to make you comfortable and kind of settle you down, you want to make sure you have that in there. And then water, like we said, you want to have 1 gallon of water per person per day. So if we're surviving on a 3-day disaster for a family of 4, how much water do we need to survive all those 3 days? 3 gallons per person, and you have 4 people, so how many? No, you have 3 gallons per person, and how many people do you have? So it's 4 times 3 is, thank you.
She's the only one in the room that can figure that one out. Way to go, adults.
Yeah, you didn't think you were coming today to get a math lesson. Some of the utility items are going to be tools, cash. If you're solely dependent on your ATM card or your credit card, if there's no power, that's not going to work. Cash, again, you want to make sure you have smaller denominations as well. If you only have a $100 bill and they don't have change, guess how much that one bottle of water is gonna cost you?
$100.
Yep. Gloves, blankets, medications, duct tape, books, deck of cards. Whatever you put in there is gonna be your own personal preference. There's no right or wrong answer as to what you're gonna put in there. So it's gonna be whatever you feel is gonna help you sustain through this disaster and get you through and be what you and your family need. Hazard mitigation. Again, the city does hazard mitigation on a larger level, looking at what our hazards are in the means of disasters. But we also look at hazard mitigation with our building codes. If there's areas in the city that have liquefaction zones, we're going to mitigate through our planning process and our zoning process to limit what can be built there or how it can be built. Some of the stuff that you can do as residents is a little bit different, but you're preparing yourself and mitigating some of those hazards. Mitigation is the reduction of loss of life and property by lessening the impact of disasters. In layman's terms, it's any activity that prevents an emergency or reduces the effects of a hazard. Some of the non-structural hazard mitigation items that you can undertake at home are anchoring heavy furniture. If you have large bookcases, like what we have here in the library, those will be top heavy and those are going to fall over. Store heavy and breakable objects on low shelves, so they're not going to fall that far of a distance and be as much of a hazard. Secure appliances and office equipment. Locate and label gas, electricity, and water shutoffs. Who here knows where your gas shutoff is? Water? Electricity? Now who knows how to turn them off? So those are some of the things that you want to make sure that you know. One is where they're located and how to turn it off. For instance, what's a proper way to shut off an electrical panel? Take its plug. When you shut off a breaker panel, you want to shut off the sub panels first, and then you shut off the main. And then when you power it back on, you power on the main, then you turn on the sub breakers. This way, if you turn off the main right away and you just turn it on with everything on, you're going to surge the system and you'll probably fry your equipment and appliances. And you want to make sure you secure your water heaters and have flexible gas lines installed. It is a code requirement, and so if you don't, we may be knocking on your door. And child-proof your cabinets. They're not only good for keeping children out, but they're also good for keeping your dishes and your plates and everything inside if there's an earthquake. Training. This is a program that I'm very passionate about. It's the Community Emergency Response Team training. I know a few people in here have attended the CERT training. By a show of hands, who's attended CERT training? 4 out of the 50 or so people we have here. This is a program that's designed to train the average citizen in disaster preparedness, hazard, and basic response skills. It is a 20-hour class that is FEMA approved, so it's a national curriculum that is good here in California all the way to Washington, D.C. There are 9 modules that are covered, and again, that's the top page of your handout, covers all those 9 modules. And here in Temple City, the training is provided either by the city, the sheriff's department, the fire department, or a combination of all or both, or all 3. And also, the city has developed an advanced CERT program where once you graduate from the program, if you want to volunteer to be part of the city's team and respond to disasters or assist us in special events, we have that program going as well. Here's some samples of some of our most recent CERT trainings. Up on the top, they're putting out a fire with a fire extinguisher. Who's here has ever, or who has not used a fire extinguisher? One of the times that you don't want to learn how to use it is when you actually need it. You don't want to sit there and your kitchen fire is getting bigger and bigger while you're trying to read instructions, and then you have a fire extinguisher that may not work because it sat underneath the sink for 15 years. And so you want to make sure you're prepared properly for that. The bottom right corner is what we call cribbing and leveraging, and so that's a technique to lift heavy objects and being able to extricate a victim from under there if needed. Again, here's another fire pan, and this is a good group building effort. It's a good team building effort, And again, the CERT concept is to train you to take care of you, yourself, and your family first, your friends in your neighborhood. But we're taking it a step further in inviting you to be part of the city's team once you finish and go through the application process of the CERT class. Some of the additional resources, this is where I go for any of the information that I need as the emergency manager for the city, are these websites. They're good locations to go and get information. Just like that video that I showed, that's at ready.gov. There's some specific items for children. There's different videos that talk about mitigation and stuff, and so these websites are a good location to go. And one last thing that I would like everybody to do is, who here knows what Nixle is? Who here knows what Facebook is? Nixle's kind of like Facebook or Twitter, where the city and any other city as well, and any public safety agency can send out alerts. It's a way that we can get messages out to subscribers of the system. It's a free system. All you have to do is, it's subject to text messaging rates, and it's a way to let us get information out. So when we had, actually we sent one out today. We sent out a Nixle alert because there's a flex alert in the state of California because of the weather up in Northern California affecting a lot of our energy system here in California. So there's an alert today, and so that's something that we sent out that's an interest to the public. And so you can sign up, it's free. To sign up for a specific group for the Temple City Neighborhood Watch, you can text TC Crime Watch to 888-777. But also if you go to the Nixle website at nixle.com, you can sign up for other cities. So if you live here in Temple City but work in LA, you can receive Nixle alerts from the city of LA or LAPD or LA Fire Department. And so that concludes the presentation. Like I said, you have a lot of information that you guys have homework that you can do and go through that packet, and hopefully don't just come here and take the paperwork and throw it on the desk at home. Actually read through it and start putting into play what you guys heard about tonight. No? Also, before Rick gets started, we have some evaluations that we hand out to all the members here. Yeah. What that does is it allows us to read what is working for the program, what's not working, some recommendations and suggestions, and so we're going to go ahead and pass those out. Once you fill out the eval and turn it back in, at the end of the meeting, we're going to be raffle off some gift cards to McDonald's, and so it's kind of an incentive to fill them out and turn them back in. Yes, ma'am?
When are the next training sessions going to be, the 20-hour?
The next, we just completed one 3 weeks ago. We might have another one in the summer. I'm still trying to figure that out schedule-wise. We do have information on the city's website, but if you email me, my email address is on the front cover of the packet that Deputy Adams handed out. Email me your name, address, home phone, cell phone, and your email address. I will add you to an interest list, and when we do have one scheduled, I will notify you that the class is available and send you the information, and then you can sign up at that time.
I'm sorry, your name again?
My name is Brian Arizumi.
It'll be on the cover of the packet. If you don't have it already, you're going to get, okay?
I
Just so you know.
should add it to mine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
So any other questions? And if not, right now, if something comes up, we'll be here through the night, and so until everybody's done, we'll be here.
Thank you very much. Brian, can you set the PowerPoint? Thanks. Okay, I'm Rick Adams. I work out at Temple Sheriff Station. I've been around for about 13 years, just working in the city. Specifically, just so everybody knows, I've got 2 partners and a sergeant. They're not here with me tonight. Usually we kind of work this presentation together. We've been here since about 5 o'clock this morning. We were doing a parole operation with the Rosemead Special Assignment Team, and we arrested a guy who was a parolee at large, which means he was out of prison, promising to behave. He didn't, so they issued a warrant for his arrest. So we caught him trying to run out the side door of his residence and took him into custody. We also arrested another guy. We were sitting on a house here on Longden in Temple City earlier and arrested a guy that we know that we've arrested before for possession of methamphetamine. And we're actually watching somebody else that's been breaking into your homes and your cars in the north end, where Ivar, Reno, that area, and probably throughout Temple City as well. we got information. He was also a parolee at large with a warrant, and we actually did a traffic stop when he left the house. We had somebody working with us, arrested him, went back to his house, found some meth, found ID cards, checks from 4 other people that were not him or anybody he knew. He admitted the meth was his, but didn't know anything about the stolen property we recovered. Imagine that. Okay? So they're actually at the station right now booking the bodies, which means they're doing all the paperwork to process these guys, and then my partners are going to write the report. So normally they'd be with me. That's just one of the many things that we do on our special assignment team for Temple City. I won't bore you with the long list of things we do because we have information we want to go over. Before I get started, we do have a lieutenant from our sheriff's department coming, I believe, to talk about cyber crimes. He's got a lot of great information. He wasn't initially part of our program tonight, but the captain talked to him. He had a great presentation, a lot of great information, asked him to come and speak. So if he shows up, I may rush through my information. A lot of it's in your handouts already, and then we'll give him about 30 minutes because he's got a lot of valuable information as well. If he doesn't show, we're fine. We're going to get you out of here at 7:30 either way. We'll stay longer if you have questions. Restrooms, for those that may have to use the restrooms, right over here. Did Brian go over that already? Okay, the taco guy is going to be here till about 7, so if you're hungry and you want to go back for more, feel free. You know, I'm getting old. I should have brought my glasses because I can't even see my own notes. Child care, we have a bunch of kids back there watching a movie, just for the little kids, not the big kids. And we have a sign-up sheet going around. And our area leaders, I want to actually introduce them real quick because they're an instrumental part of this program that we developed about 2.5 years ago. Lucy over here, Joel, Patricia in the pink jacket, and Martin. We have about 20 people that meet once a month with me for 1 hour from January through October, and they're the ones that actually pick the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. They're very involved. We're changing the program. Every month we meet, we're adding things. We're taking away things we don't like. Most of the stuff's just been changing things and adding things to the program because we want this program to sustain. We've changed the whole way we do it. I don't have time to go into that tonight, but we actually have a meeting every month of the year except for November, December because it's too hard with the holidays. Okay? And we cover all of the areas in Temple City. Now, how many of... Oh, Martin wants to say something real quick, though, before we get going. Go ahead, Martin.
Whenever we come to these meetings, the people sitting around in the audience are saying, what can I do in terms of neighborhood watch, meaning you? And what you can do is be the eyes and ears of the sheriff's department and the city. If you see graffiti, there's a number in your handout and in the Connect magazine to call to get graffiti removed. If you see abandoned shopping carts, there's a number in there for you to call to get the shopping cart removed. If you see potholes and other things that are disturbing your neighborhood, there are city numbers in there that you can call. So it's as part of Neighborhood Watch. The Neighborhood Watch is as good as you are in walking around your neighborhood, looking out of your window, and calling it in. And one final statement is, we're now up to about 1,550 people who have signed up for Neighborhood Watch. So it's getting bigger and bigger and better and better. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Martin. All right, so we're going to go through this presentation. I've only done it once, so if I, go out of order, hey, we're going to work with it, right? Happy, happy, happy. Okay, so the 4 topics that our area leaders came up with, and actually, too, I've got Jillian coming out. When I'm ready for my videos, she's going to work the videos for me because I'll mess it up and we're going to be here a lot longer. So, burglaries, that's our #1 problem right now, and we'll talk about that. Not only residential, but vehicle burglaries. We're going to talk about thefts, which you can see here. We've got mail theft, bikes, mail also packages, and unlocked vehicles. That's the big thing right now. We're getting hit with those all the time. Now, the sign-up sheet that I told you about that they're coming around with, if you put your contact information on that sheet, especially your email address, we'll make sure every week you get a crime blotter that talks about the majority, if not all, the crimes that went on within the city that week. We also give out information routinely as we get things. Lucy's really good about emailing things that she thinks you might need. I had a resident had a scam that she was concerned about. I sent it out to everybody, just so everybody's on the same page. We have almost 1,500 email contacts in 2.5 years. So please get on that list so we can send you that information. It's very helpful. It's good information. Personal safety, okay? And then the protocol for calling the station, which we covered in year 1, but the area leaders thought it was a good topic. A lot of people have problems when they call. Maybe they don't know when they should call and things like that. So those are our 4 topics. All right. Okay, so our trends. Let me see what I do here. Okay, we'll come back. Okay, trends. Basically, for your residential burglaries, the trends that we're seeing are people that are going up, and we're going to talk about the kinds of people that are going up. They're knocking on your door, they're ringing your doorbell, right? And what do? How many of you answer? Okay, how many of you don't answer when you're home? Because either you're sleeping or you don't want to be bothered by it. I don't answer the door. How many? More than that, come on, come on. All right, very good, very good. Okay, so the problem we're having is, it used to be, we would tell kids, look, you're a kid at home, mom's not home or mom's in the shower, are you going to go to the door and answer the door or even say anything? No, right? Because we don't want the kids getting abducted. Well, now the problem we're having is these crooks are coming over, they're knocking on your front door or ringing your doorbell, and when they don't get an answer, they're going around the side and they're busting your door and they're in your house. Now the good news is, they're going to leave once they find out you're home. And in most cases, if you're there, they don't want any confrontation. But there was a case about 3 years ago where a gal came in there, she was yelling and screaming, they told her not to, she did it anyway, they tied her up, they poured, cleaning, solutions all over her, just to mess with her, and then they finally left. But in most cases, they're going to leave, okay? So what we're going to tell you now is, especially with the trends that we're seeing with residential burglaries is, if you hear a knock or somebody rings the doorbell, make sure you go to the door, even the young kids, and just say, hey, we can't talk right now, come back later. Because if you don't know that person or you don't want to talk to that person, at least do that. If you don't want to do that, keep an eye on them. Get the phone, and if they're coming around to your side of your house, there's no reason for them to be on the side of your house. You get that phone and you call 911. All right? Make sense? All right. Now, we're going to talk about some things. I don't want to make you paranoid. Okay? Because you're going to leave this room tonight and go, man, I thought we had a pretty safe city. I felt pretty good about myself. And now I don't want to leave my house unattended, right? It's not that bad. But we do want you to be aware of what can happen out there and what is going on, okay? Construction burglaries, homes that are being remodeled, fumigation burglaries, where houses are being tented. Those are very common, and we're getting those from time to time, all right? So if you're going to have your house tinted, get a hold of us, shoot us an email. We have a gal at the station that lets us know ahead of time. She's working with a lot of the fumigation companies, but a lot of times we don't get those until it's too late. So if you're going to have your house fumigated, if you're going to go out of town on vacation, shoot me an email. All right, my contact information is on that front page of my packet. It's the one that's got the new Neighborhood Watch sign, the sheriff logo, and the city logo on it. And that's my email. And the best way to get me is email or call. But email is the best way because I can print up all that stuff, work it, and go from there. Because we handle all your quality of life issues as well, on top of everything else we do. Okay? Now, there are some other things I want to go over. The construction and fumigation burglaries, they're in your handout. Okay, so there's points about those. So take a look at that. You can do it now or when you have time. No rush. And then also, we want to talk about, see, I can't even see. That's pretty horrible. My girlfriend just told me, look, babe, you need to get glasses. I said, my eyes are fine. And I was fine until I started using glasses. Now I can't see at all without those glasses. I hate it. And I hate that she was right, too. Okay, no, I'm teasing her. She's always right, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They're always right? We've been around long enough. Right. Okay, distraction burglaries. Distraction burglaries, I'll keep it simple. There's everything you need to know about distraction burglaries in here. Just little bullets. Keep it simple for you. We don't want a lot of information. We don't want to overload your minds because I can't handle that much information. Okay? But basically, someone's knocking on your door telling you they want to go in and check your pipes from Edison. Nobody, unless you called somebody, should be going into your home, period, at all. Because what they'll do is, they'll tell you, hey, I want to paint the back of my wall and I need to get dimensions. Kind of go through your house and, look. They're checking your home to see who's there, see what you have. They're going to distract you while their buddy or their girlfriend out front runs in there and grabs your stuff. We had a case like that about, 4 or 5 years ago. Got a license plate. The license plate was given to the desk. the correct way. They typed it in, the desk typed it in the wrong way. The deputy on his report had it wrong as well. I had to go back to the recording, found the correct plate, found the gal that was responsible, and she had been arrested for burglary and had committed probably about 15 of these same type of crimes, and we actually were able to locate her and arrest her, and we got her to admit to it. So that, unfortunately, doesn't happen very often. Usually, if someone breaks into your home and takes your items or breaks into your car, 90 to 95% of the time, we're not going to get it back. How do you like that percentage? All right? But that's the fact. That's the reality. Right? I don't come here and tell you, hey, we're going to solve all your problems for you. Right? So that's why it's important for you to safeguard your items. Put them in safes, and we'll talk about a little bit of that. All that information on how you can safeguard your homes, they're in the packets as well, just so you know. All right. Now, the other trend that we're seeing with vehicles, burglaries, is cars that are locked, people leaving items in their cars. We tell people all the time. Most of you folks probably don't do it. Some of you probably do. Bags. Even if there's nothing in the bag at all, take it out of the car. Because if you don't, you stand a chance of somebody breaking your window, which is going to cost you $100 or $200 because you can't claim it on insurance, right? Because you have a deductible, or they're going to raise your rates or whatever, right? And now your stuff's gone. And if you've got anything in there, I can't tell you how many people have purses, change in their car that's in plain view. We have transients, we have narcotics users on bikes, like the one guy we just arrested 3 hours ago that travel through at night looking for cars to break into. The other guy we arrested that also had met the one we were waiting on to leave, he had broken into about 3 or 4 cars in the same complex he was staying in. And the manager knew this. You're going to like this. The manager knew this. She said to us today, which is the first time we had heard it, this guy, ever since he's been here, he's been breaking into cars. Right? And my car got broken into, and I know he's got my stuff. Well, guess what? We go back to the house, we search his house. In a backpack that's got all of his papers are her license, her bank cards, about 10 of her cards that she had in her car. Now, why she had them in her car, I don't understand. But the point is, don't leave anything in the cars, period. Because if somebody goes to break in there, they're going to take it. If they see something worth value, they're going to take it. All right? Make sense? All right. This will show you how easy it is, and I'm going to need Julian to help me out. Do I just double-click it, or?
No.
Okay.
Don't click anything.
All right. I'll mess it up. Thank you. Yeah, see? Hey, when you've been around a while, you know. Listen to a woman. They know what they're talking about. You are much smarter than us guys. Sorry, guys. It is what it is.
All right.
So this is going to be a guy,
Ceramic.
he's going to show you. That's a piece of porcelain.
Throw it glass.
The guy we arrested.
That's simple.
That's simple, okay? And usually it doesn't even make that much noise. The guy we arrested today, believe it or not, with his drugs and all the receiving, the stolen property that he obviously stole. We can't prove that he stole it. We know he did, but we have to be able to, in a court of law, prove that he did. Right? We're not going to be able to do that because he's not going to admit to it. We already talked to him about it. He admitted the meth was his. I don't know how those other items got in my backpack, which had all my personal information in it. He had stacks of paper with his name, and he had all the stolen, items, all these stolen items in his backpack, but he doesn't know how they got there. He blamed it on the other guy we arrested earlier because he was with them. So we're showing you this just so you know how easy it is for somebody to smash your window. Now, on top of those items, he had a piece of porcelain. So we booked it as evidence, and we're going to charge him because it's kind of a burglar tool. It's a way that crooks get into your car, right? They might have locks, they might have shaved keys, whatever. There's a section in the Penal Code that makes it illegal for you to do that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge him. Now, the reality is they're not going to do much with that in the court system, but we're adding it to all those other charges. So hopefully, they'll do more. All right, this is a window punch. Same idea, same concept, just so you know. So that's simple, okay? So you don't even have to throw anything. And then you just got gloves on, you just, whack the window out, you're good to go. Okay? So it's just that simple. We just want you to know that. Okay, prevention. All right, so what are some of the things we can do? In your handout, I gave you a number of tips about preventing these things from happening. Your homes, okay? Lock your homes. Hide your valuables. Don't keep any jewelry out that you're worried about it. Hide it somewhere or put it in a safe. You can go to the bank and get a safe deposit box if you want. And I think they're only, I mean, I don't know if they are nowadays, but they used to be at $20, $30 a year. Anybody have one right now?
$40 or $50.
Yeah, 50.
50? So $50 for a year, you're talking, what is that, maybe is that $5 a month, or is my math wrong? Where's the young lady that's doing the math? we have to, I'm not gonna ask you, because none of you stepped up when I asked what 4 times 3 was. $375 a month. So that's just another option for you. Just another option, okay? Talk to your neighbors when you're going to go out of town. If you've got an alarm, use it. I can't tell you how many people have alarms and they don't pay the $20 or $30 a month. They don't set it. Or they're paying the $20 or $30 a month and they still don't set the alarm. Great tool. Dogs are good as well. But your best bet is to secure everything, be aware of your surroundings, and with the vehicle bergs, and there's more in here, but Lieutenant Mark Stevens is here, so. Hey Mark, you want to wave your hand just so I can see you? Okay, we're going to let you go hopefully here in just a little bit, okay? So he's going to talk, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on the topic, but everything you need to know is in this handout for you. And I kept it real simple. All right? Your vehicle burglaries, how are you going to prevent it? We just talked about it. Don't leave anything in your car, right? All right. You guys with me? Yep. All right, very good. All right, so I want you to listen to this guy. This is a convicted burglar, and he's going to talk about the things that he looks for when he's getting ready to break into a house. It's kind of interesting. It's about 3 minutes.
Cover is very important. I don't want someone to see me breaking into this house, so the house must have cover, trees, or big tall wooden fences, you know, like people have around the house, around swimming pools, or cover. When I say cover, anything that I can get up close to this house and it hide me, where somebody can't just maybe look out their window and the next door neighbor look out and say, well, somebody, After I look for the plants in people's yard, how they take care of their yards, toys is very important, because it depends on what kind of thief I am. If I'm looking for guns, or if I'm looking for jewelry, if I'm looking for this or that, and me myself, I was a jewel thief, and women have the jewels. And if I see a bunch of toys in the yard, then I know it's a woman live there. Then I look at if the house has an alarm. After I make sure the house got cover, I make sure the house got an alarm or doesn't have an alarm, But all that's nothing if I don't look at the next door neighbor's house too, on both sides. If there's houses on both sides of this house that I'm checking out to break into, I gotta make sure the neighbor's houses are secure too. And not only that don't mean that the neighbors doesn't have to be home, because I don't care if the neighbors is at home. I look for the neighbors, because neighbors are nosy, If I ride through your neighborhood and you see me and 2 more black guys, you're going to automatically call the police, because we look suspicious. But if I'm by myself and I'm walking through a neighborhood and I got a rake thrown over my shoulder, and plastic bags hanging out my back pocket, and a pair of gloves hanging out my back pocket, well, you think I'm somebody's yard man. When it isn't the case, that's just a disguise, That's just something I do to make me look, to fit in more. Yes, you always knock on everybody's door. I don't just, me, I can look at a house and tell you if somebody's home or not, but I'm still gonna knock on your door to make sure you're not home. Because I have been in houses with people in their sleep. And when I go in the house and people in their sleep, they never wake up. I turn around and I leave. I walk back out, and I don't take anything. I knock on the door to avoid any confrontations, because if I go in your house, I don't want you to be home. I think I've broken maybe 2 or 3 houses in the night. I've never broken into houses at night just because of the fact people come home at night. In the daytime, when you break into houses at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, people's at work. And I never break into a house close around lunchtime because people come home for lunch sometimes. And usually when they start getting close to lunch, I don't break in the house. But anywhere from 8 on up to 11 o'clock, that's the time.
I found that interesting that he actually avoids 11 to about 1. You know, I never even thought of that until I saw him speak. You know, it makes sense if you think about it. Now, basically, your residential burglaries are going to be during the day when you're at work. Your vehicle burglaries, for the most part, although they will happen during the day, are going to be at night. Okay, usually the early morning hours, between 2 and 5 when you're all asleep. So, just so you know. All right, moving forward, thefts. Any questions or concerns at this point? Everybody's happy? Good. All right. Unlocked vehicles. We're getting a lot of that. If you're getting those weekly crime blotters I was talking about, you'll notice that we're getting more and more. And I think the last couple of weeks we probably had 6 or 8 total where the cars were unlocked, and we have these guys on bikes riding through, sometimes driving through, just looking for cars that are unlocked. So lock your cars. Leave them empty. Mail theft, still a big problem. As a matter of fact, when we hand out the flyers, we go door to door for each area every time we're going to do a meeting. And several times I'm finding people with mail for the postman they leave out there, and then Edison bills and what have you. Now, some of you folks that are older, you may not want to go online and pay your bills, and that's fine. But you can do it online, which is much easier, and it's pretty safe. It's actually really safe. I've been doing it for years. Haven't had a problem with that yet. Or just make sure you take it to the post office. If I have to send a check out or something out, I just go and take it to the drop box so it gets in there instead of leaving it on your front porch. Because you're going to have people driving through looking for, and they can just drive through real slow and see it. A lot of times they're looking for it. So they can spot it very easily. All right? Same with packages. UPS, we're talking about doing Operation UPS, because I can't tell you now how often we have video camera at a home, video surveillance, and it shows someone coming up and they got a hoodie, you can't really make out who they are. And when you can make out who they are, unless they're one of our crooks that we're familiar with, we may or may not be able to identify them. We'll send the picture out to other agencies, but a lot of times we can't actually find out who the person is. So UPS, what you can do, or any other company where you have packages delivered, you can request a certain time of the day. You can actually have them bring it around the side. How about this? Get to know your neighbors. How many of you know your neighbors on each side? How many? That's pretty good. And it doesn't surprise me because you folks are all involved. That's why you're here tonight, all right? It's the people that aren't here, that don't get to know their neighbors, and they're going to be more of the victims, because they're not really, too worried about it until they actually become victimized, all right? Packages. Leave them with your neighbor. My neighbor used to, pick up my mail for me when I was on vacation, feed my cat, I'm not saying you have to do that, but if you trust your neighbor, maybe another family member somewhere, you have somebody close by, you have options. Make sure they're going to deliver it when you're home, and maybe in the backyard so it's not sitting on your front porch. I had a guy who went away for the weekend, had a package on his front porch, and by the time he got back 3 days later, it was sat there for all weekend, someone stole it. So, guys riding through all the time. Now more than ever, we have to be a lot more diligent and more aware of our surroundings, because these crooks are committing residential burglaries, and normally they will get 2 or 3 or 4 years in state prison, and they get a 6-month sentence, and they're out in a month. They're out in a month. Where's the incentive for them not to commit crime? Right? Yes, ma'am.
I have, maybe I have a fake 80p sign that I got on eBay in front of my house, right? But every once in a while, somebody comes around and knocks on my door and says they're trying to sell alarm services. And it bothers me because, one, I don't want them to call my bluff, and also, is that legitimate? Do they go door to door and try to sell that service?
Not normally. What we're seeing a lot of now are solar companies trying to go door to door and sell service. Not normally with alarm companies. They don't normally do that. And what I would suggest you do in the future is say, hey, no thank you. Ask them if they have any identification. If you've got the door locked, you got a screen that's locked or a door you can talk to them where it's secure. I wouldn't open the door. I would not invite them in your home, okay? But once that person leaves, call the station. Let us come out and contact that person, especially if they're going down the street. If they're legitimate, we'll find out. If they're not, that gives us probable cause to detain that person. Your phone call gives us that right, that legal right to stop that person and find out what it is they're doing. All right? So make sure you call. And we're going to touch on calling in because a lot of people, they think, I don't think it was important. We've had cases where, there's a car backed into the neighbor's, driveway. They knew the neighbor was on vacation. Then they find out a day later that the neighbor's house got broken into. Oh, yeah, I saw his car. I thought something was kind of weird, Yeah, thanks. That really helps. No license plate. You didn't call when it was there. So, something to think about. All right? Bikes get stolen even if you lock them sometimes. The big thing with bikes is, and we don't have too many problems with bike thefts, but they do happen. Lock the bikes if you can, and then also serial numbers. Most things you're not going to have to worry about serial numbers a whole lot, really. I mean, people will tell you, all your serial numbers, put them on a piece of paper. And that's fine if you want to do that. Bikes are good because your dopers, your narcotic users, your addicts are on bikes. They don't have licenses, and their main mode of transportation in most cases are a bike. If you have your serial number to the bike, you give that to us. We enter it into our computer database, and now when we stop that drug user who's under the influence riding his bike, we run that serial number, we'll get the bike back to you. I mean, that's one of the few times we're actually going to get your property back. And we can take them to jail, not for the theft, but for receiving stolen property because he knew or should have known that you're not going to buy, because he's going to tell us, I bought the bike for $10 or $20. Who'd you buy it from? I don't remember the guy's name. Right? So, but there's still enough with the penal code section where we can arrest him and at least get your bike back. They may not do a lot of time on it, but it's still a tool for us. All right? We talked about packages. Okay, now, going back to cars and leaving things in your cars, vehicle thefts of unlocked cars. This is a real short clip, and this is the last one. Brian, I need your help, brother man. Thanks. And you're going to miss part of the video, and I'll explain.
Hunting for an easy score, and wait until you see how they did it. Cambridge United's Mark Augustine has this story live. Mark?
Well, have you ever come outside your car to find a flyer tucked under your windshield? Something advertising a restaurant, a concert, or a car wash? Well, it looks like some thieves now at Overland Park are using flyers as a part of their scam.
Okay, so what you're not going to see, and we're going to add it to the video because that was our mistake. We wanted to try to keep it brief for you, but then after we're looking at it, we were like, that's pretty brief, right? You didn't get a lot out of it, did you? All right, but I can tell you what it's all about, and I'll tell you the small part you're missing. Basically, it was a guy and a gal. They're going in the shopping center and they're handing out flyers, but they're bogus flyers. I'm sure you've gone shopping or other places and you have flyers on your windshield, right? Yeah? Okay. All right, good. That's just to make sure you're still awake, all right? Keep you alive. Okay, so what happens is they're going and doing this. They're looking in your car. It's perfect. They go in your car, either locked or unlocked, and within 2 minutes, it shows them in a store swiping your credit cards you left in your purse and using your credit cards. And Mark will tell you, he's going to tell you all the fancy ways they do this. I'll let him touch on that. But look, it used to be you had to show your identification when you use your credit card, right? Nowadays, everything's changed. Gas station, you can use any card. As long as you know the area code, you're fine. Grocery store, same thing. You go in there and you swipe it and you can buy a whole bunch of stuff. We had one of our council members, I won't say which one, doesn't really matter. He had his identity stolen. They got his credit card information, went to a place in La Cañada. I went to the store. It took me 3 hours to get video footage, and I got this gal buying meat with his information, but you can't make out the video real well. We'll probably never find her. It's that simple, and Mark's going to tell you more about that when he speaks. So just be aware of leaving things in your car, like we talked about. Personal safety, I want Mark to spend some time talking with you. Your safety precautions are all in here, all right? Walk with your head up, make eye contact with people that are, looking at you that might be suspicious. Don't be afraid to make eye contact with them. Don't walk at night, ladies, unless you're walking with somebody. Avoid alleys, all those things. It's all in here, okay? Bad guys are going to look for older folks, and usually younger kids that may be on a cell phone by themselves. They don't want a fair fight. They want to take advantage of you. All that information is in your handout for you. And I think lastly, we want to touch on the protocol for calling the station. Obviously, 911, calling 911 is an emergency, okay? Someone breaking into your house, even if you have someone you think might be breaking in, somebody wiggles your door, they start walking to your back, you better call 911, okay? Someone's not breathing, someone's bleeding a lot, you call 911, all right? Emergent, priority, and routine calls. Emergent are, someone's breaking into my house, we're going to roll there, we're going to get there within a minute or two. We're going to respond with the red lights and decide we're going to get there right away. Priority calls Maybe a kid locked in a car and it's kind of hot and left unattended. Believe it or not, it happens, right? So that'll be a priority, which means we may not respond code 3 if we're close, but we got to get there. It's a priority. We have to get there right away. And then routine calls are after the fact. When someone breaks into your home and you've been gone all weekend, you had nobody watching your house, you didn't have an alarm, and they spent all weekend going through all your stuff. Now all your stuff's tossed all over the place. They've eaten your food. They've drank all your alcohol. I mean, it's bad enough they violate you by going into your home, right? But then they take all you go through all your clothes and everything else. So just something to think about. Information that the desk needs when you call the desk. It's all in here. Simple. It's like 6 or 7 bullets. That's it. Do the best you can on vehicle descriptions. If you can get a license plate safely, great. If you can't, we don't want you to get into harm's way. Okay? Descriptions about who you're looking at in cars. Look, the biggest problem we have are people that don't want to bother the desk. Okay? If you have any possible suspicion that there's something going on, I'm telling you right now, call the station. And the number is on the front of that packet I gave you. Okay? We want you to call. And if you have a problem with somebody at the desk, which will happen from time to time, we have deputies working the desk. We have civilians, you know. Look, not all deputies are great. Okay? You know, there's bad in every profession. Yeah, I know some of you thought we were all, you know, perfect and, you know, ton of integrity and everything else. That's not always the case. And look, a lot of the guys and gals that are answering the phones maybe don't realize how important it is to treat you with respect and dignity. Not that they're going to be totally rude to you. Sometimes they're busy. Maybe they're not as mature. Whatever. If you have a problem, I want to know about it. I'll give it to Ron, my sergeant. I'll let him know. And we'll just talk to him. You know, I'll just say, look, you know, you need to be thinking about these issues. All the calls you make to the station are recorded. So we'll know exactly what was said. We'll know the tone of voice used. We'll know exactly what you provided and how they handled the call. So if you're unsatisfied or you're not getting somebody out and you feel like you need somebody, ask to speak to either the watch deputy or the watch commander if you need to go that high, to get somebody to come out to your house. All right? Okay, I know I covered a lot of material real fast. Did you kind of, was it too fast? A little bit? It's okay. Oh, you won't hurt my feelings. Okay, any quick questions before Mark comes up? All right, everybody happy? Okay, Mark Stevens is with our Cybercrimes unit. He's got a great presentation for you. Mark, do we have it set up? Did he set it up for you? Okay, great. Okay, so we're good to go. Mark Stevens, everybody, Lieutenant from Sheriff's Department.
That's the same one. Okay, that works. Well, good evening, everybody. You're very fortunate to be here today. I just came off the freeway, the 17 miles from the USC campus to here, an hour and a half. So you can't get here from there right now. It's just really bad out there. So again, I'm Lieutenant Mark Stevens. I work our Fraud and Cybercrime Bureau. I've been there for about 2.5 years now. I've been on the department for 31 years. I've worked patrol, custody, detectives, major crimes, commercial crimes, our training bureau, background investigations. I got to tell you, I've never seen anything that's going as fast as a cybercrime and identity theft. This is the fastest growing crime in the world, let alone the United States, and it's creating, you know, huge problems. The good news is that there's some tools and rules, and I'm hoping to give you several of them tonight that you can take with you so you can protect yourself, your family, your businesses, those types of things from falling prey to this. Just real quick, show of hands. How many people in here know somebody whose credit card has been compromised? Okay, take a look around, folks. It's a lot of people, all right? My credit card's been compromised 4 times in 18 months. Okay, now, I use my credit card a lot. I don't carry cash very often. I use plastic for everything. But I'm going to give you a couple of tips so that hopefully you don't fall prey to it, at least not as often. And if you do, you won't take too much of a hit, nor will your bank. The problem that we've got is we've got this exponential growth worldwide of technology and hacktivism. There's hackers out there constantly trying to get into the computers. They want personal information or whatever it is that they're trying to steal. But the technology's gotten way ahead of security. Okay, and we in law enforcement are way behind the security. And that's just because of budgets. And the big thing is, it's training, right? We have to train our people. We have to buy the equipment and the software and so forth in order to be able to conduct our investigations when it comes to cybercrime and even identity theft to some extent. And the technology changes all the time, right? So we get somebody all trained up, and guess what? 6 months later, we got to send them to school again. And you know, private industry runs most of those classes right now. We're actually in the process. Well, I just came from USC. We actually have our first class going, and we're in the process of developing course development with USC so that we can get more cops trained much quicker and at a better price. It's a partnership that's working out very well between us, LAPD, and the University of Southern California. In addition, we've got this massive growth of the number of computers. I was at a cyber conference last year. They threw a number out there that was 1 year to 2 years old, estimating that there's 2.5 billion, with a B, mobile devices on the street. 2.5 billion. Okay, now I don't know, how many of you have more than one electronic device with you? iPod, cell phone, I know there's some of you in here that do, okay? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe a third of you would have had a cell phone. That's just how fast it's grown. It's grown. And it's growing exponentially. We're in this J curve, and we're right at the bottom of the vertical, and it's going to do nothing but go up now. And the technology is going to advance. I would be willing to put money on it that what we see today in technology 5 years from now won't look anything like this. The way we're purchasing things, the way our computers work, what our computers look like, that sort of thing, they won't look anything like they do today in 5 years. And then I've got lack of government response to the issue. I just explained that. It's money, it's training, it's equipment. And that's probably going to take some federal or... Oh, that was different. There we go. Probably going to take some federal and state legislation so that they can start working on the issue and get law enforcement the funds that they need, the resources and so forth, are going to be necessary to do a better job with it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring this to the forefront, get people educated, in hopes that we can bring down the number of incidents so that we're not as overwhelmed with the number of crimes and complaints that we're getting. The types of crimes that we're talking about: intrusions, that's your hacking, talked about that a little bit, identity theft, corporate espionage, intellectual property theft. Now, we normally think of intellectual property theft as being the music industry, Hollywood, but what about a major corporation that spent millions of dollars over the last 3 years in research and development on a project, only to have a hacker hack in, steal it, and sell it someplace? Whether it's to a foreign government or to another business within that industry, it costs that corporation a lot of money. And in the end, it actually hurts our economy. It affects the job market, the whole 9 yards. So it's a big deal. Medical identity theft, this is real important. You need to protect your health insurance card just like you would your social security number, okay? The medical industry does a terrific job of protecting our medical records. They have to because of HIPAA. If you don't know what HIPAA is, Google it. It's very expensive for any medical facility to have a breach with our medical records. It's very expensive. There's fines and penalties associated with everything else. But here's the issue. If I'm a crook, or heck, I'm just a good old guy that's got a really bad knee surgery that's needed real bad, and I happen upon your medical insurance card, and we're close enough in age and gender, so I think I'll go use your card, all right? So I go into the doctor, and the doctor asks me all kinds of questions about my medical background, what kind of surgeries I've had, if I'm allergic to any medications, you know, that standard question thing that they do to us every time we go in, right? And I tell them that I'm allergic to this, that, and the other thing. Okay? Fast forward 6 months, you're in the emergency room. Maybe a life-threatening situation. Doctor wants to give you some medication to offset the problem. They enter that medication into your medical chart. Sorry, you can't give that medication, drug interaction. Because it would have been an interaction for me, not for you. And that can happen. So it's important to guard that card. And here, tools and rules, right? The rule is when you go to the doctor for your physical each year, ask him to see a list of all your doctor's appointments. If there's something listed that you were seen at in a Metropolitan Hospital in Las Vegas and you didn't go to Las Vegas this year, there's probably something wrong. Okay, but take a look at that so that you can weigh that against what you know you did. If there's a Dr. Jones and you didn't see Dr. Jones, challenge it. Ask them questions about what that was for. It may be something that you've forgotten, or it may be that somebody used your identity. Cyber ransom. CryptoLocker malware is just it's a program that a hacker uses. It goes into a computer, it captures all the critical files. If it's a business, it might be client list, inventory control, that sort of thing, banking information, throws it all into a file and encrypts it. Your computer still works. You just can't open up your business files or like your My Files folder, those types of things that have got all your important documents in it. And then there may be a pop-up on the screen, or you might get a phone call. It's usually a pop-up on the screen that says, if you ever want to see your files again, send $300, $500, $5,000, whatever it is that they think that they can extort out of you. And we'll be glad to provide you the password so you can get in and unencrypt your files. Tools and rules: back up all your critical files to a loose media device, flash drive, optical, like DVD, that kind of thing, that's not on your network. And that way, if something like that does happen, you can just wipe the drive, start over again, reload your software, and then throw your critical files back onto your computer, and you'll be okay. Hours, maybe a day, versus weeks possibly being out of business. We had the one business that I know was out of business for 56 days. 56 days because of a hack. That's expensive, and a lot of businesses will fold in 56 days. Child and adult exploitation, we hear about that on the news all the time. I won't go into it too much, but this type of stuff happens online. I talked a little bit about identity theft. Shred everything. I tear the cover off of the penny saver that says resident at an address, and I shred that, and then the rest of it goes in the recyclables. If it has any personal information at all, shred it. If you don't need it, shred it. If you do need it, secure it someplace where it's not going to get out there. You've got to protect your personal information, protect everything, not just your social security card, because your driver's license, your address, all that stuff is part of your credit profile. Protect your mail. That came up in the previous talk, okay? It's statistically safer to pay your bills online than it is in the mail now. Okay, the encryption that's being used, the secure websites and so forth, as long as you're doing it right and you keep your software updated, that sort of thing, you're better off probably doing it that way. Because remember, if you drop something in the mailbox, that mail can be stolen. And even if it's not stolen out of the mailbox, it's going to change hands several times before it's going to get to the end destination. It's got to get picked up, then it goes to the warehouse, it goes to the sort room, it gets repackaged, it goes out on a truck, it goes someplace. There's lots of places where it can either get lost or stolen, okay? Protect all your passwords and protect them like they're your social security number. I've got over 40 online accounts. I have a different password for every account. And I know that there's many of you in here that have got the same password for all of your accounts. I'm going to show you in a little while why that's really bad practice. And again, report all incidents. I know we were talking about the desk and so forth. You may have an issue with, the deputy comes out to take the report. Ask for a police report. Not just the call number, but ask for a police report if you've been the victim of identity theft, a cybercrime, your credit card's been compromised. Even though really Visa is a victim, you're still a victim. It was your number. You were inconvenienced by it. But report all incidents. Card skimmers, and this is where we're going now, with where all of the credit card compromise starts. This is the #1 way credit cards are compromised, is with skimmers. Okay, they are placed in gas pumps. They're placed on the transaction terminals in stores. There's handheld devices. I've got pictures of these things up here. But ATM card versus credit card, tools and rules. Don't ever hand your Visa debit card or your ATM card to anybody, ever. That's the card that only you handle. And I will only use mine at a bank ATM, all right? And I will tug on the front of that ATM. I will pull on it, trying to make sure that there's no skimmer that's been attached to the outside. I'm going to show you some pictures of those. I know that the police have been called because of tampering with the ATM. They saw me out there pulling on it. I know this. I can pull on it as hard as I want, and I'm not going to break it. If the cap comes off, it's a skimmer. And I know that. So you want to make sure that your ATM card gets used only at secure machines. And here's the reason. If your credit card gets compromised, the law says that the credit card company has to replace that credit on your account within 24, 48 hours, something like that. I don't remember which. And that's part of the consumer protection law. And because credit cards are used all the time, and they're not, well, we saw what happened with Target and Neiman, and Michael's, I guess, was breached, and there's 4 other major chains that they haven't announced their names that may have been. They're not sure yet, so that's why they haven't announced it. Credit card skimmers are out there. The way the system is set up was designed by the banks and Visa and MasterCard and all that. And so there's laws that protect, consumer protection laws, and one of those laws is they have to hold the credit back. Now here's the deal. Your credit card gets compromised, $500, they put it back into your account. They really kind of become the victim. Your ATM gets compromised, that's your money, folks. And while that investigation's going on, they don't put the money back into your account unless you got a really, really nice banker, okay? And once the investigation's over, 6, 8, 10 weeks later, then they'll put the money back into your account. So, tools and rules. I have 3 cards in my wallet. I have my Visa debit card, if I need cash, which I don't carry very often. I have my regular credit card, my big credit card, and then I have a throwaway credit card. It's from a smaller bank, or it doesn't matter if it's a small bank, big bank, but I requested a very low limit on that card. I make payments on that card 3, 4, 5 times a month to pay it back down, because that's what I use in gas pumps. That's what I hand the waitress at the restaurant. That's what I give to the fast food stores. That's what I use. If it gets compromised, I really don't care, because they're going to send me a new card. They're going to put the credit back on my card until they finish their investigation, and I'm going to have another card in a couple of days, right? Now, I've had a couple of people in the banking industry. I've been doing these presentations now for about 6, 8 months. I've had a couple of people in the banking industry. Well, why do you tell them that? Well, it's very simple. If my credit card gets compromised, you, Visa, American Express, whatever, you're only out $300 or $400. If I used my regular credit card and it gets maxed out, how much of a hit are you going to take? And they go, yeah, okay, yeah, well, you're probably right. All right, so 3 cards, right? The throwaway card's what you hand to everybody. This is what credit card skimmers look like. That's a circuit board with a plug on either end. That board is about 1.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Very, very small board, okay? It's got a plug on either end of it. What they do, right here, this plug was unplugged from here. They insert this is the skimmer, and they plug the skimmer in, then they plug the pigtail into the end of the skimmer, and that's how they do it. So they open up the machine, unplug it from the thing, plug in the skimmer, plug in the pigtail, close the machine. 15 seconds. That's what it takes to put one on a pump, all right? And believe me, if they can figure out how to do this, they can figure out how to open up the pump, right? It's pretty simple. But what this does, this is a Bluetooth-enabled card. So they put it in the pump, right? They leave it there for 24 hours. They come back the next day, they park their car within range, 30 feet or whatever it is, run inside, grab themselves a soda, cup of coffee, whatever it is, while their computer's talking to the thing, downloading the information. They don't have to open the pump back up. It's Bluetooth. And then they drive off to the next gas station and get some more credit card numbers. That will not be found until the pump is serviced. Okay, now you'll see those little tapes on there that'll say like Shell, contact the attendant if this tape is broken. It's one of the things that the gasoline companies are doing to try to start curbing some of this. If you see that tape broken, go tell the attendant. I talked to a manager, I think he was, at one of the gas stations, said that his people are now required to walk and inspect those tapes every 30 minutes. Right? So they're trying. There's things